Our meeting is called to order. Gina, we call the roll.
Director Abela.
Here.
Director Freeman.
Here.
Director Gray.
Here.
Vice Chair O'Brien.
Here.
Chair Dennert.
Here. Dan, do you have any items for agenda review?
Thank you, Chair. We don't have any recommended changes to the agenda. I did want to note, though, that we did distribute a supplemental for item 9A, the Oak Park Park and Recreation Planning Committee. We received a letter from the Oak Park Municipal Advisory Committee. So we distributed that letter to the board and to those interested in the meeting. And then we also distributed a supplemental for item 9C with a new contract attached because there was a mistake in the contract that was distributed with the report. That's all I have, Chair.
All right. And then that brings us to public statements for items not on the agenda. If you'd like to identify yourself, you could wave at us, you could raise your hand, you can unmute yourself, but any comments for items not on the agenda? I see Mark Johnson. Mark, go ahead.
You're mute. Mark,
you're muted.
you're muted.
Unmute.
Okay. Now I'm unmuted.
Okay.
Maybe I'm muted is a good thing. I just wanted to thank staff for all the work that they did on our 60th anniversary. It was very well done. And as always, great job, guys. And thank you for all your hard work. That's all.
Thank you, Mark. Anybody else for an item not on the agenda? I see that Micah just joined us. Dan, is that somebody you expect that might be speaking later?
Yeah, I think Micah's with Goodwill. They're part of one of the presentations.
Okay, thank you. So the way we're going to do public comments for items on the agenda is I'm going to ask you right now just to tell me what item that you might be speaking on so we don't skip you. I'll also pause sometimes and ask, is there any public comment? If you change your mind, you could just let us know. But just so we don't pause too often during the meeting, we could run it efficiently. So if you're here for public comment on any other item, not as part of presentation, we know that. If you just let us know, and then I'll make sure to call on you. Danny, does that apply to you? Danny Sue?
What?
When we get to any items later, do you expect to speak tonight?
Maybe on the Mayboyer tree thing, but
Okay.
I'm not sure.
All right,
Thank
when we
you.
get to that, if you change your mind and want to speak, just let us know. Anybody
Okay.
else you expect to speak tonight? I'll call for public comments a little bit later, but to run the meeting efficiently, I'll consider that maybe Danny Sue is going to speak on that item later. That brings us to approval of minutes.
Move for approval.
I'll second.
I have a first and a second. Any discussion? Not seeing any. Gina, will you call the roll?
Director Abela.
Aye.
Director Freeman.
Aye.
Director Gray.
Aye.
Vice Chair O'Brien.
Aye.
Chair Dennert.
Yes.
The motion carries with a unanimous vote.
That brings us to the consent agenda. And that's items 6A through 6E. Dan, is there any part of that you want to speak of, or do you think any of our staff members are speaking on any of that?
We have no presentations on consent unless the board would like to pull an item and has any questions.
I have a question, Chair Dennert.
Yes.
On page 8, the very first item, check number 98480. That's on the Ventura Regional Sand District Mitigation and Monitoring, the TRO. Was that just our portion and everybody else paid that much also?
Yeah, so separate and apart from the fire damage, we have an annual agreement with them. And there's some cost, some mitigation cost and some testing cost. And we each share 25% of that annual cost. So that's our 25% share of the total cost.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Any other items to discuss?
I have a question about item E. Is this the item that was pulled from the agenda at our last meeting?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Why did it end up in consent? Just because it's kind of minor, or?
Well, we had a long agenda, so we were trying to make the agenda a little shorter, but we've, because it's authorizing bids and not necessarily approving the contract, we put it on consent because it's an authorization. When the contract comes back, it will be on the regular agenda.
Okay, that's fine.
And because I
I'll move
don't
for approval.
expect any public comment, I think I just heard Kate move to approve, or was that Elaine?
I think it was me. It was me.
All right, Kate moves to approve.
Yes.
Second.
Josh with a second. Gina, will you call a roll for the consent agenda?
Director Abla,
Aye.
Director Freeman,
Aye.
Director Gray,
Aye.
Vice Chair O'Brien,
Aye.
and Chair Jenner.
Yes.
The motion carries with a unanimous vote.
That brings us to agenda item 7A, presentations, scheduled items, and public hearings, certificate of appreciation, presentation to Goodwill Industries of Ventura and Santa Barbara counties.
Thank you, Chair Wayne Nakaoka. The Director of Planning and Maintenance will provide staff's report.
Chair Dinner, members of the board, Goodwill Industries of Ventura and Santa Barbara counties performed volunteer fire debris removal and cleanup services within the community of Oak Park and at Challenger Park in the aftermath of the Wolseley fire. Their service crews worked alongside our maintenance staff for over 12 months. Work performed helped restore the natural beauty of our open space areas and saved the Park District from performing many of these tasks ourselves or through contract services. To my knowledge, this has been the single largest volunteer project undertaken by any organization in the history of the Park District. And I've been around for quite a few years. I would like to personally thank all those people and staff members of Goodwill Industries that were involved with the project. Here tonight representing Goodwill Industries is Michael Bailey. I believe he's still online. Who was the administrator in charge of the volunteer services. As a special treat, Goodwill Industries produced a 4-minute long YouTube video to help explain their goals and objectives for the services they provided in Oak Park, which I would like to play for you right now. So if Alex, could you please turn it on?
My name is Michael Nisley. I am a ebooks clerk here at Goodwill. During the Wolseley fire, me and my dog got separated from my family. I went to what I thought was a safe distance away, and me and him kind of just made a bed under a bridge, and he woke me up whining probably around 12 o'clock, and the fire was probably 300 or 400 feet away. And we made it to the road. There was a lot of smoke, a lot of ash in the air, and we made it to the flashing lights, and the sheriff thankfully gave us a ride to Santa Monica, where I then waited until the morning, was able to get a hold of my aunt, and they came and picked me up. We lost the house. We didn't find that out until probably a few weeks later, when they let everybody know whose houses were there and whose houses wasn't.
I'm Eugene Molnar with Rancho Senior Recreation and Park District, and I'm the Senior Maintenance Supervisor for Oak Park. Wolseley fire impacted Oak Park pretty extensively. We were hit in several parks. We lost infrastructure. We lost our office. We lost $2.5 million of our equipment. Fortunately, Goodwill came to our rescue, basically. It's that we were able to implement a program with you guys and work jointly together to helping us work towards the recovery of the Woolsey fire damages throughout Oak Park.
About the anti-dog program through a family friend that was really helping us out at the time. Me and the crew pretty much was on the trails all day, taking the burnt debris off of the trails. The burnt debris that was still connected to the trees, we had to cut it off, throw it, just to get all the burnt debris off the trails, pretty much.
At any of those crew levels, we always had a person in the field that was a lead person. So that person got to learn leadership skills, got to learn how to prioritize different operations that needed to take place. On some of those operations, we gave skill sets of learning how to read blueprints, how to do planting skills, how to use small tools, how to use large power tools, how to operate. We've had little transport vehicles that the guys transport, so they learned how to drive what we call gators, and they're little four-wheel drive vehicles so they can transfer materials. And the crews became, we gave some guidance. For the most part, they were independent and self-sufficient. So once we got them down a guideline, after that, they were operating. They were taking materials out on themselves. They were cutting materials on themselves. So there's been all types of skill sets, from leadership opportunities to reading prints, operating tools and equipment, teamwork, working in a teamwork environment. And we've also had employment opportunities, which we have a few people that have applied recently to hopefully join us on the Park District team. And all these skills could be transferred into the job field and the job market, and we could implement giving them letters of recommendation because they have met these certain skill sets and so forth.
I'd like to add, in addition to providing the volunteer services, Goodwill has been working with us, or the Park District, to help us find part-time employees. We have a vast number of grounds maintenance workers that we're looking for, and Goodwill has been kind enough to post at their offices our job bulletins. So I got to thank them a lot. Thank you, Micah. And Goodwill Industries is well deserving of our certificate of appreciation. I can't imagine the man hours that they put into this, but when they said 500 man hours, that's 500 man hours per man with a 5 or 6 man team for over a period of a year, which they had 3 contracts with us. So you can imagine how many service hours they did provide. So thank you, Micah.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure working with you guys. I can't speak to how much that you, Wayne, Dan, as well as Eugene and his team helped provide a positive impact to Ventura County. And we heard from the residents every single day how thankful they were to help beautify the parks and return it hopefully back to the way it was before.
Any other staff members or board members who want to speak?
I did, Chair, if I could, thank you, Micah, the labor you provided and the good you did in the community allowed us to recover from that fire much quicker than we otherwise would have been able to do. So it was a good partnership, and I really want to appreciate your crews, and it was an outstanding partnership and for a very good purpose. So thank you.
Josh?
I'll just say thank you and well-deserved, and echo what Dan said.
I just want to reiterate what Dan and Joshua said. Thank you. That's amazing. 500 man hours per person is no small thing.
I want to thank all of the people that did that. I mean, it's an amazing task. It was a lot of really hard labor, and we really appreciate it. Thank you. Tell them all thank you very much.
Mike, I had written some comments. But the third comment I crossed off because Wayne already addressed it when he said that you posted the job openings, because your crews definitely show that they have an interest and skills. So I thank you for that. I like the poster in the background that says "Not charity, but a chance." We honor that a hand up when someone needs a chance to be able to prove themselves. So we appreciate that. I'm going to ask staff to post that video so the public can see it. Maybe on our Facebook page, it would be appropriate, so they could share that video and see the good work that Goodwill, Micah, and your entire team did. We're going to either use the react button on the bottom to actually clap, maybe give them, I don't even know what we do anymore on Zoom, but Micah, congratulations. There we go. Yeah, there's the certificate. On a virtual certificates, that's a scan. We'll get you a copy if we haven't already. I appreciate it. That brings us to item 7B, presentation of the part-time employee of the month for October 2021 to Christy Grayson.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Pennington will provide the report, and I also see we got a whole team of folks to support Christy's award. So I will let Ms. Pennington provide the report.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and members of the board. The part-time employee of the month for October 2021 is Christy Grayson. And as Dan mentioned, she's got a little fan club there. So welcome, everybody. Christy is a site coordinator with the Planning and Maintenance Department. She's worked for the district for 4 years, and this is her first Employee of the Month award. The person who nominated Christy stated the following. Christy started as a volunteer at Strathern Historical Park, and with her hard work and capable skills, transitioned to a district employee. Being a docent, she has outstanding knowledge of the property, which is of great service to the public and staff. Christy provides support to the Historical Society and local historian Pat Havens. She is also the weekend monitor for private events at Strathern. Christy is passionate about her job, has the ability to anticipate problems, and comes up with solutions. She's a valuable contributor to the Park District and is deserving of the Employee of the Month award. Congratulations, Christy.
I imagine there's a whole list, but any staff members, friends of Christy would like to speak? I see a clap. Wayne?
Yes, I'd like to say congratulations, Christy. You do a fantastic job out there. For those of you who don't know, she's also on the Historical Society board, and she will be our Master of Ceremonies for Veterans Day. She is a veteran. So congratulations. And I'm sorry that I didn't get invited to your little party there. It's a very interesting time there. So I just want to say congratulations. I appreciate everything you do out there.
Thank you, Wayne. Okay, so I'm going to talk. Chris is amazing. I have to say that Chris is probably, out of my 16 years working at the district, she's probably one of the hardest and the most dedicated employees that we have. Her heart is in everything that she does. She is concerned about the public. She's concerned about our property. She's concerned about Strathern. When I was at the district doing volunteers and events, she volunteered. She was at almost every event I did. She donated to the Huckpen Fishing Derby. She was there for me all the time, whether I was at Strathern, whether I was at the Park District. She was always there trying to help out. If I ever, there were times when I was a volunteer coordinator where I was begging people to help, and Chris was always there. So she is just the most dedicated and humble and amazing person. So she really deserves this.
Yes.
So.
Anyone else?
Yes, I just would like to say thank you too, personally, because being on the Strathern Joint Committee and all the wonderful things that go on at the Strathern. We really appreciate all you do, and it's such an amazing effort on your part, and I'm glad you were able to become an employee. Thank you.
I see Ed.
Right. I just want to echo really well deserved and thank you for everything you do, Christy.
Thank you, Ed.
Yeah, thank you, Christy. You-
Teresa?
Great.
Or I'm sorry, Kate, then Teresa.
Oh, I just was echoing what everyone else said. Thank you, Christy.
Thanks, Kate.
Christy, I do have a plaque for you and a check, so I'll get those to you. So congratulations again.
All right,
I
thank
think
you.
we could just give it to Wayne and let him drive over there right now.
There you go.
Come on over, Wayne.
We have pizza. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
So I'd like to point out that the mission of the Park District includes preserving community history. So thank you for helping us to fulfill our mission, whether it's Strathland Park, Veterans Day, and so much more. And you know that I always enjoy going to Strathland Park. And the thing is, if you walk through the museum, I'm not going to tell you it's huge or a massive collection, but every time I go through that the museum, I see something I didn't see before. So I appreciate all your work on that. And I look forward to the next book signing and getting out to the Strathland Park again. See you all soon.
All righty. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, not seeing anybody. We'll give it one more round of applause. Congratulations. That brings us to 7C, status of the district's response to the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic.
Thank you, Chair. Briefly, since last time we met, we did have one complaint regarding masking in and around one of our programs. I know Mr. Miller addressed that, but we got to continually be reminded, and the department heads got to remind the staff and folks associated on the masking rules. We have had 2 staff positives since the last time we met. We did start at the last meeting. I mentioned that we had to start testing for our employees that work on school campuses. So that's primarily the after school club. We have implemented that, and I'm happy to share that we've got 7 ASC employees that are being tested. So it's far lower than our initial estimates. And then finally, the new guidelines for vaccinations and testing were released by the federal government this morning. We have not reviewed that in detail yet. I will let you know it's 490 pages. So that being said, once we review that, I'm not sure yet if there's any policy discretion in those rules or what choices we have to make, but certainly if there are decisions, we'll be bringing those back to the board once we get a chance to evaluate that. That concludes my report, Chair.
Are there any questions? I'm going to ask for if there's any public comment, but as a reminder, I did that at the beginning of the meeting, but just in case anyone joined us late, if you could just identify yourself and tell us which item of the agenda so we don't skip you. Not seeing any of that. Zach, how many approximately, sorry for putting you on the spot, after school club employees do we have?
We are currently in the mid 40s, I believe, roughly.
Okay. And then as a part of that, what's our staffing? Do we have any staffing issues like labor shortage or anything?
Yes, we continue to try to recruit and fill positions in after school clubs. I would say currently we could take anywhere between 6 and 8 more employees to really make ourselves feel comfortable. Even more, a few more would be give us a little bit of breathing room. We did have a couple of new hires come in this week, so that was encouraging. I have been able to relieve some of the full-time staff of some of their duties out at the teen clubs and after school clubs and get them back to the office, which has been a nice relief, but we do continue to need more employees to help facilitate those programs.
Zach, as a part of that, if you want to talk about this later, the school district identifies students' future career interest and college interest, like who wants to be a teacher maybe one day. We might be able to ask them to send not a flyer to all students because it might not be applicable, but specifically to those students and say, we have heard that you want to major in education. Here's an opportunity to get paid as you learn and to explore that career field. Because I feel like if it's one more email from a school, it gets lost in the shuffle. But if it's that tailored message, it might be help out a little bit. I don't know if a lot of our students understand that's a pretty flexible schedule because of the hours. It's after school, obviously, but it's also usually not nights and weekends. So that might be a desirable part of that. And I had heard some of our staff had to, I guess for a better word, substitute or join in. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so as our numbers grew and we kind of filled out some of the clubs, the part-time staff was lagging. So I did have multiple full-time staff members kind of going out to plug in. Dave DeMaio was working in the team clubs quite a bit, and Brian, Danielle, Richard, everybody had kind of spent some significant time out at the clubs. Depending on, we were down to one sick out would create a scramble in any given club. So the staff, to their credit, was super flexible, was super willing, has not complained, but would really, and I really thank them over and over for that. But again, this part-time shortage of staffing kind of throughout the region is definitely kind of an impact that we're gonna have to deal with going forward.
Zach, let your team know that we appreciate them and we understand they're working harder than before to do all these things all at the same time. So I know they're running around and doing their best, and I appreciate them.
Will do. Thank you, Chair.
Any other questions or comments? Not seeing any. That's going to bring us to continued business 8. There is no continued business. That's going to bring us to new business 9A. Report on the October 14th, 2021 Oak Park Park and Recreation Planning Committee meeting, and provide direction regarding the limited use of humotoxins and the potential removal of a tree at Mayboyer Park.
Thank you, Chair. I'll go ahead and handle this report. The Oak Park Planning Committee did have the meeting on the 14th. As the board's aware, each time at your next meeting, as soon as practical, we report out on the results of the meeting. We did conclude a protocol for tree removals in Oak Park, which the committee approved, and they were very happy to have those in place. I want to thank Wayne and the staff for putting those together. So that was a good result. We did report out on the status of the Oak Park Lagoon project. We anticipate going out to bid, fingers crossed, in February of next year. Construction to begin in April of 2022 with hopeful completion by July of 2022. The committee also asked us to put out a press release notifying the community of our anticipated completion date. So we have done that. And then finally, there were a couple of items follow-up that require the board's attention. One was related to the potential use of fumotoxins. We haven't used fumotoxins in the community for quite a while, but in response to some concerns of the committee regarding damage within a couple of developed parks, specifically Oak Canyon Community Park and Deer Hill Park, the committee was interested in allowing us to use very limited fumotoxin to handle the rodent damage that's being caused in those two parks. So they did vote 5-2 to allow the use of fumotoxins in those two locations, with some very specific condition that it's limited to grassy areas, including lawns, that it is not used in wildlife or creek areas, and that the areas of use will be signed and roped to notify the general public upon application of the product. Secondly, there's a tree at Mayboyer Park. It's in the right-of-way. It's right adjacent to the street. I believe there's some photos of the location in your staff report. The county received an ADA complaint regarding this tree. It's causing damage to the sidewalk, significant damage to the sidewalk. And although it's on our property, it's within county right-of-way. So the county had initially given us an estimate of $12,000. It's now $15,000 to remove the tree and repair the sidewalk. And it was really at county direction that we needed to do this. Subsequent to receiving that estimate, there were some folks that were interested in an alternative in order to not remove the tree, and the county worked up a cost to repair the sidewalk in order to not remove the tree. That cost estimate is $39,000. The committee reviewed the item at its last meeting and voted in favor 5-2 in favor of removing the tree at the lesser cost. Since that time, just a couple of notes. The County Board of Supervisors has reviewed an item where they're going to review their sidewalk standards countywide. The idea is that if the sidewalk standards were modified, then the option to reroute or how you construct sidewalks may be a little bit more cost effective. That being said, I understand that that discussion isn't scheduled to happen for quite some time, and that the county staff in conversations with them doesn't think it's not prudent to hold off on this decision for that possible policy discussion at the Board of Supervisors. Also, as it relates to this, there's 4 other trees in Oak Park in a county right-of-way. It has nothing to do with our park or our property. The county supervisor, Linda Parks, has elected to pay for the option to reroute the parking lot. That is 4 trees. And as I understand it, it's being funded out of the supervisor's budget. So that's 4 trees at a cost of $29,000, and they're going down that path. To wrap up here, we are on the fumitoxins. We're recommending that the board go ahead and authorize staff to use the fumitoxins as recommended by the committee with those conditions. And then secondly, for the board to make a decision on which option it would prefer relative to removing the tree and repairing the sidewalk at about $15,000, $200. Or not removing the tree and reroute it and repairing the sidewalk at a cost of $39,000. That concludes staff's report, Chair.
So we're going to go to questions from board members. After that, we'll see if there's any public comments, and then we'll have a further discussion. I would like to give.
Chair, if I could, I'm sorry, I was remiss. The MAC and the Oak Park MAC Municipal Advisory Committee voted to not remove the tree and ask us to pay the higher cost. So that's the Municipal Advisory Committee. Yeah.
I'm also going to suggest that we divide this into 2 different discussions, just so emotions might be a little bit more clear later. The first part I would like to discuss, if this is good with my fellow board members, is the fumitoxins. And then after we resolve that, we'll move on to the tree. Does that work for everybody? All right, so for the fumitoxins, are there any questions from board members? Not seeing any. Wayne, what would be an alternative? I know it's probably, you're going to say not as effective and more expensive, but it's important that I ask, what would be the alternative if we said don't use the fumitoxins?
We're currently using the alternative right now, which is mechanical traps and solid bait. They're a little more time consuming. Fumitoxin is placed down. It's very quick. It's very rapid. It's very effective too. It would save us a lot of staff time. That's primarily why we use it.
And then as a part of that, the other 2 considerations I have is the use of fumitoxins in this case like temporary? Do we plan like to try to get the rodent problem under control when we stop using it, or is it an ongoing solution?
It may be an ongoing solution. Typically, after we apply 1 or 2 applications of fumitoxin concurrently, we don't have any gopher problems for about 6 months. If in 6 months we have another problem, then we apply fumitoxin. If we don't, we just leave it alone.
And then my last question about that is, I saw in the report the ways that we plan to protect wildlife and use it in limited spaces. Does it work its way through the food chain in the same way that anticoagulants do?
No, fumitoxin is not an anticoagulant. It doesn't have any secondary kill. It's used throughout the food industry and commercial kitchen industry to eliminate bugs and rodents. It's quite safe if it's used properly.
Are there any public comments on the proposed use of fumitoxins? All right, Dan, would you like just a motion on that, and then we can move to tree because that might be separate?
I'll make a motion. I think with all of the precautions that have been outlined and the support of the Oak Park Committee, I would move to approve the recommendation for use.
Thank you.
A second to that motion?
I'll second.
Ed is second the motion. Gina, will you call the roll?
Director Abela?
Aye.
Director Freeman?
Yes.
Director Gray?
Aye.
Vice Chair O'Brien?
Aye.
And Chair Dennert?
Yes. So the
And
motion carries to accept staff's recommendation for using fumitoxins in with that limited, that's in the board report, the limited use. That brings us to a discussion of the tree removal or the proposal to remove the tree. First, questions from board members, then public comment. Any board members have questions for staff on that?
Yes, I have a question.
I have a question.
So we'll go with Elaine, then Kate.
We both do, yeah.
On our liability.
Okay.
On our liability, since we've been notified that it's an ADA issue and the county has told us that and given us direction, has our liability increased now since it's been called to our attention?
I would say, yeah, if we don't address the issue, the liability would increase. I can ask Mr. Pierrick to comment on the ADA aspect of that, but yes, logically, if we don't either fix the sidewalk needs to be fixed. So the longer that goes, the longer our liability is in place. Yes.
Thank
And
you.
Brian can comment on ADA constructive knowledge and notice.
Well, certainly, if there's an ADA issue, the district must address it. And if the condition is creating an ADA issue, then there needs to be compliance with the ADA requirements.
Brian, because we've been notified, are we exposing ourselves to more legal liability if we wait? If we just said we're going to wait until a different decision the county makes or something like that?
Well, it's hard to predict what the end result of waiting would be, but I would say that it's certainly, if it's an issue that needs to be addressed, it needs to be addressed sooner than later. So delay could adversely affect the position of the district.
In reviewing the tree ordinance, it's very clear, the county's tree ordinance. It is a heritage tree, but tree constitutes, it says if a tree constitutes a public safety hazard or certified by a supervisor from any park or school district, county general services agency, or fire protection district, in consultation with a qualified tree consultant. So since we've been notified, the tree ordinance is quite long and spells out the responsibilities for removal.
Are there other questions from board members? I think Kate, you had a question?
I had a question. That letter we got from it was from the county advisory people saying they were reevaluating the cost of the sidewalk, and it could actually be less than the cost to remove the tree.
Thank you, Kate. I did talk to the county's director of transportation this afternoon, David Fleisch. He said that on one hand, they are going to try to get the cheapest cost for alternative 2, because that 39,000 is an estimate, but that's just going out to bid and trying to find a better price. So it's not that it's going to change the price all that much, in his opinion. The other thing is that he said if we rerouted the sidewalk different in design, he felt there are costs associated with that and removal of that. He said even a rerouting of the sidewalk, we're not looking at a whole lot of savings to option 2, in his opinion. And that's from county staff. So I know that the letter from the MAC indicates some hope that the cost may be reduced. It could be on the bid, it could be through the design, but in his opinion, the savings wouldn't be significant, let's say.
Okay, so that letter was just wishful thinking, basically.
Well, they're asking to spend the money, $40,000 or thereabouts, to not remove the tree.
If we route the sidewalk around the tree, is it going to be sticking out into the road and traffic? That's a bigger hazard that's as big a hazard as an uneven sidewalk, don't you think? I mean,
the tree, yeah. The major issue is the sidewalk. That's where the ADA complaint is. But if you look at the photos, that tree is. The director made the comment that tree probably shouldn't have been planted that close to the road to begin with. So it is very close to the Canaan Road, which is a fairly major thoroughfare. So.
Okay.
I was wondering if we could ask the county supervisor, since she was able to find funding for the other 4 trees, if maybe there wasn't funding available for this tree.
We could certainly do that if that's the board's desire. Yes.
I think that's a good idea.
Are there any other questions before we go public comment and then discussion? Not seeing any other questions. We're going to go to public comment. Earlier, Danny Sue said that she might speak on this item. Danny Sue, would you like to speak?
Yes, I would. Let me try and get my video going here. Okay. So this tree that we're talking about is not a native tree to start out with, and it's a Canary Island a Canary Island pine. And they did. It was planted in the wrong place to start with. It's that size of a tree needs at least 10 feet, and it's in a little area that's the little space there. So it needs 10 feet minimum, and we're saving this tree. I don't know what constitutes a heritage tree, if it's just an old tree. For the extra $24,000, you could plant a lot of trees for that, and a lot of trees that would probably do better in the park. And that we're coming up on climate change, and we can't keep babying these trees. It's a medium water user, so it's not really drought tolerant. It's susceptible to beetle borers and diseases like Phytophthora. We have a lot of Phytophthora in Oak Park. It's not really easy. You can't even grow an avocado in Oak Park because we've got such big problems with Phytophthora in the soil. It's a fast growing tree. So if you just want to take that tree out and plant the same kind of tree in another part of the park, they do grow about 3 feet a year. So it's a fast grower. Just because it's a big tree doesn't mean that this heritage thing just gets me. Moderate root damage. So if you move the sidewalk around it, that's not saying that the roots aren't going to go back and do the same thing. And we don't use root barriers anymore. They don't work. And the arborist said that it was in fair condition. So this isn't even a tree that's in really good condition. Non-native, heritage tree, beetle barkers, And like I said, I think we should be planting trees that are going to stand up to climate change, because things are changing and we can't be babying these things. And there's a lot of research out there. We need more trees, but saving one tree that's a problem at the cost, I just don't see how that works. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Are there any other public comments? Dan, is there anybody on the line that you think might want to speak on this?
I see a phone number, 805-368. I don't know if that's somebody that wants to speak, but other than that, I don't see anybody else.
805-368. I feel like this is bingo. 3233.
Not sure. Yeah.
Is there any public comment you'd like to share? I think I saw them unmute themselves. Dan, Carolyn Cass-Barden had earlier called into a meeting and had a tech issue, not tonight. Can you just check real quick that that's not her number? Do you have that ability?
Sure, let me take a peek.
Okay.
The number I have for her. Give me a moment here.
As Dan checks into that, any other public comment? Any member of the public want to comment on this item, which is the potential removal of a tree at May Boyer Park?
That is not the phone number that I have on record for Carolyn Cass-Barden.
Thank you. Now comments from board members.
Just, I'd like to clarify the reason.
I just saw JL Diaz join. He's on the committee as well. Sorry to interrupt.
Good
Okay, we're
evening.
going to go with JL Diaz if you have any public comment, and then we're about to go to board member comments. But JL Diaz, do you have
Right.
any public comment?
Yes, just want to reiterate the letter that the MAC submitted. So all the arguments, all the concerns that we have are already noted there, and I hope the board considers this request. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Elaine, you were speaking.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify what constituted a heritage tree. And in that case, on this particular tree, it's simply the circumference of the trunk, size of the trunk.
Okay, so if it's a big tree.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I got it. Thank you.
Or maybe Wayne. Danny Sue had referred to the arborist said something about the condition, but I missed what she had said.
Wayne, the condition of the tree from the arborist report?
Yeah, the tree is listed as C- for the canopy and a D for the roots or the subsystem of the tree. So it is a marginal tree according to the arborist.
It was a D. The grade was for the roots of the tree.
Yeah.
Thank you. It is any other board member discussion? Josh?
Yeah, my thought is if we, I understand some of the community members from Oak Park, their concern about doing this, but I think with at least a portion of the cost savings, if we cut it down, is we could plant an indigenous tree to replace that one in the park, or we could do two that are indigenous to the area, low water usage, still provide the shade and the aesthetic that locals would want. And we could do that without, if the roots are bad, that's also an indication that the trees may be healthy now, but I would assume would not be healthy for long. And I mean, the photos also illustrate how poorly placed that tree is. So that is a thought I had. I'd be interested in any other board member opinion or staff opinion.
Danny Sue's comments about beetle borers is relevant to me because of climate resiliency, that the tree might become diseased as it is. So it's a pretty big price to pay not knowing that might happen, plus the roots and the location of the tree. And then Danny Sue's suggestion of we could plant a lot of trees for that price. If there's any motion, I'm going to ask the person to add on to their motion that will plant at least a few trees to replace it. Because what I've seen often is when a tree gets removed, people say they're going to replace it, and you just get fewer trees. So as Josh mentioned, indigenous or native tree, it might be better suited. I'm not saying that exact location, but as a part of that, we'll know not immediately there won't be the same amount of shade. That's not how that works. But at the same time, when we say the job is complete, we've already put into the ground a few other trees or have a plan for that.
Okay.
Oak Park Committee. Oh, I'm sorry, Kate.
No, that's all right. I'm fine. I was
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
make a motion, but if we're not done commenting, then.
Before we get to that, the Oak Park Committee, I know that we had the MAC, but the Oak Park Committee, for either of the board members that were present for that, could we get a summary for anyone paying attention? What was their thoughts on it? Not the MAC, but the Oak Park, our advisory committee.
Was it thorough?
Brian, Chair Denner?
Yes.
I think it's in the report. They voted 5-2 for removal of the tree and repair of the sidewalk.
I do see that in the report. I just didn't know if there's anything to add to that.
I think it was consistent with Danny Sue's comments is what I would describe the discussion as.
I would just like to say, I think this board has shown a lot of respect for the trees in Oak Park. We went to a lot of work on the Mayboyer Park to save that tree. And I think this is a little different circumstance since we were notified by the county. But we do, as a district, we care very much about the trees in Oak Park. And I think we've proven that. And this is just a difficult circumstance.
It was persuasive to me to see that the Oak Park Advisory Committee wanted us to remove the tree. And the reason for that is I know that it was important to the advisory committee. They went slow, they went through the process, they considered it carefully. And if, as a part of the budget for that community, if that's what they said was their priority, that's going to be a strong argument for me. I want feedback on this motion, but my motion is going to be to follow staff's recommendation to remove the tree with a modifier to that. Unless the county comes back to us in before the next board meeting and says they are interested in paying for it, I'd leave that up to Dan's discretion. If the county comes back to Dan and says, actually, we are willing to pay for it, that he'd bring it up at the next board meeting. If not, the tree would be removed, and then we plant some other trees at the same time to show that we are interested in providing trees and protecting them.
I'll second that.
Dan, was that motion clear?
Yes.
So the tree would be removed unless the county came back to us and said that it was important to them. They're paying for the sidewalk and the cost. Any other discussion? And not seeing anybody else that joined us to give public input, we're going to go to Gina. We call the roll for that motion.
Director Avila,
Aye.
Director Freeman,
Aye.
Director Gray,
Aye.
Vice Chair O'Brien,
Aye.
and Chair Denner.
Yes.
That motion carries with a unanimous vote.
That brings us to item 9B. Review and provide direction regarding Earth Day event and award criteria.
Director of Fun, Zach Miller, will provide staff's report.
Good evening, Chair Danner, Board of Directors. Earth Day is the annual celebration honoring the achievements of the environmental movement and raising awareness for the importance of long-term ecological sustainability. Earth Day is celebrated in the United States on or around April 22nd. The Rancho Senior Recreation and Park District has created a special event and community awards to celebrate Earth Day throughout our district. As part of the district's Earth Day celebration, staff is planning a community service event that will take place on or near April 22nd. That will include a trash pickup, a planting project and beautification, probably of Barrelwood Park. This location and the type of cleanup could change year to year to have the most impact on the district's needs. Alongside this event, it is planned to have local students submit art that celebrates Earth Day, including original artwork, poetry, and other expressions based on the yearly theme of the event. Starting in 2020, Rancho Senior also wanted to honor specific individuals for their work on environmental related projects. These nominees were brought to the board meeting and certificates for all the nominees were awarded, and staff was asked to bring the item back to the board for the board to consider changes to the process and criteria for those awards. There are two different ways that the district can facilitate recognizing the work of the community members on environmentally friendly projects. The first would be recognition for all nominees that were received by the district leading up to the event. These nominees could be recognized at an Earth Day special event with the community in April, or we could bring them to a board meeting and recognize them formally in front of the full board of directors. This would allow the district to highlight all of the worthy community projects that had occurred within the district during the course of the year, and staff could compile and bring information to report to the board along with the persons responsible for the project and present that information at a May meeting. Alternatively, the board could choose to have the award be a more competitive process and winners announced in a predetermined category or categories. Some of the categories that we would consider could include, but not limited to, a community champion award for an individual that does community and environmental projects, a youth award, an employee award, and maybe an organization or business award. And these are just for your consideration. None of these are formalized in any way at this point. The request for honorees would be solicited from the board members, staff, and the community between February 1st to February 28th. Projects must have been completed between January 1st and December 31st of the previous year, but could be ongoing. They could be ongoing projects or efforts. The individual nominating for the award will provide information related to the honorees' efforts and supplemental materials if available, such as photos, news articles, reports, etc. Some of the proposed criteria could be as follows. One, achievement or results that have a positive impact on helping understand, protect, conserve, or restore the natural environment by ways of activities that show measurable results. Project encourages stewardship behaviors or actions. Strong preference would be given to projects that achieve positive change through actions that went above and beyond the required or standard operations. Third, demonstration of successful partnerships with other communities or business stakeholders where possible. And fourth, the ability to reproduce plans or actions so that others may implement similar activities throughout the district. If the board so chooses to go with a competitive award, there would have to be a few ways that winners could be selected. Those ways that we've kind of considered and presenting to you tonight are as follows. One, the staff could meet, discuss, and select the winners of each category and present those to the board. Secondly, the staff and a subcommittee of board members could meet, discuss, and select the winners of each category and then present it to the full board. Or finally, the board of directors could discuss and select winners at a regularly scheduled board meeting with all 5 directors giving input in a public setting. So the recommendation and direction we're looking from you tonight would be to tell us how the board of directors would like to nominate and acknowledge the Earth Day Awards for the community. And with that, I'll take questions or comments.
I like that title, Director of Fun, and I'm not against officially changing that to Director of Fun because I might communicate to our community more immediately what Zach does, but we'll talk about that a different night. Zach, my first question for you is, I know that you might be put on the spot by this question, but I appreciate you being candid. Which one would be easier for staff? I know that at this point, we're putting a lot of work on you. People are substituting different positions. I mean, I still got to go what's best for the community and all, but if you could give me some feedback on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we were to kind of give a recommendation or a preferred option, I think the staff is fully capable of doing this and would alleviate the need to go through a full slate of awards. We don't know how many nominees we might get presented to us. So the staff would be comfortable kind of setting aside a side meeting and kind of reviewing the criteria and giving a recommendation to the board for the award winner. Secondarily, I think board input would be nice, but to avoid a full public meeting to have to process every detail of every nominee, the subcommittee or a small selection, 2 board members that would like to sit on a committee like this to help us go through that could meet at our office. And when we have all the information compiled, could meet with us and select it.
He didn't really say that, did he?
I know, Ed, but I'm trying to save the full 5 board and a 4-hour-long meeting to go through some of these nominees potentially if we got a big response. So we're happy to do that with you guys in a formal setting as well, but we just want to make it as streamlined as possible for the board, and the staff can accommodate any one of these scenarios that you guys choose tonight.
I'm not sure if I completely heard an answer there, I'll be honest. I don't want to assign you more work at this point with so much that you're currently doing unless absolutely necessary. Is there one that, like, if I just asked you, Zach, which one would take the least amount of hours to implement? Could you tell me that? I know that normally it's up to the board and you would say, we'll do whatever you ask of us, but we're putting a lot on your department right now, or all the departments. Dan?
I would say the easiest, if that's the question, would be just to give a certificate to all of those that are nominated. That being said, if we want to categorize, we need a process to select winners, but the easiest would be to just recognize anybody that's nominated in the process.
With the input, obviously, that you could say, as the district manager, if there was an application that was not quite there, that maybe that one doesn't. If someone just said, I saw Brian pick up a piece of trash, give him an award, you might say, okay, well, staff is able to give awards to all.
We would probably still review them against the criteria, Chair. So they'd still have to meet the criteria. I know that Ed was interested in making it, at the last time we talked about it, was interested in making it, potentially considering it more of an award than just a appreciation. So
I'll wait till a board comments. I don't want to confuse the process, but yeah, this is a repeat of last year's discussion again, but I'll wait till we get to comments. I don't have any questions.
Questions from other board members?
I had the same concern too about time constraints and how involved the program should be. So I'll have to rely on you guys for that, Zach.
Yeah, I'm concerned about staff also putting too much work on that. We've already you guys are already kind of overworked.
Is there
Seems
any?
like. You're doing a great job, but I always feel like we're putting too much work on you, so.
All right, we'll see if there's public input, which I don't think there is because we asked people to identify themselves or say that. But is there any public input? We're going to go to board member discussions. I'm going to say that although I brought up Earth Day awards because I think we should recognize efforts, volunteerism, good ideas from our staff members, and how important sustainability is, I'm open to other board member suggestions on the process. So if I said I want to do it one way and another board member says another way, that's okay because the vision is the same. We're talking about the details. Are there, Ed, I think you said you were going to wait. Go ahead.
All right, so first of all, I'm opposed and vote against anything that involves another committee. If this is a board act, it should come before the full board. The committee thing is just, from my point of view, is out of the question. I would never agree to that. So that's number one. As far as, to me, if we're truly doing awards, same discussion we had last year, I would do it by category. I don't even necessarily think I would have 4 categories. And even if we had 3 or 4 categories, I would only give the award if it truly merits giving the award. I think for a first time when we gave it to all the nominees, it was okay because it was the first time we were doing it and we kind of did it all on short notice. But to me, if you start nominating 5 or 10 different people every year and giving them awards, it's sort of not really an award anymore. It sort of cheapens the whole effort and defeats the whole purpose. But I will say this, it's not make or break for me. It's the same suggestion I threw out there last year. You start giving it to all the nominees, it almost defeats the purpose of doing it. But again, it's not that important of an issue to me that I'm going to do anything to block that. But I am firmly opposed to having any 2-person committee from the board making any decisions on it. So I would go with the categories. It makes the award more special. It makes it more of an award. But again, I won't lose sleep over it if we don't go with the categories. I am opposed to the committee approach.
I do. The committee is not an important part of this for me. So if other board members have an opinion one way or another, I'm open to that. I do like the categories idea because it'll be more open for people nominating them, especially like if a young person, they might not have the same resources or time as a different category, but we're also saying that it's open to employees. So I like the category idea. And my thought is we could leave it up to staff. We have categories. The staff would look at them, then look who they thought was deserving, bring it to the board. And at the board level, we would at one meeting just vote to approve staff's recommendations and then give out the award at another meeting. So we would not necessarily need a committee. We'd have the categories. The director of fund would bring us his suggestions and say the staff has met, looked over the nominations, and here they are. We could approve it before Earth Day, and then after that, at Earth Day, give them out. Other board member comments? Josh?
I think your process would work just great, Brian. I think that's a good
one last
process.
detail before. I'm sorry, Josh, what was that last part?
I was just also endorsing the categories, and I think your process is sound.
Zach, when I make a motion, I'm going to say, I see the categories they proposed there to give staff flexibility. If you change those categories around at all, my motion's not saying approving those 4 categories, just the idea that you'd have categories and you'll look it over. And if you go with those exact categories, that's good too.
I'll second that.
I apologize. I had one more part before we get to that. Be right back. In our board office, we have artwork from last year. They're one of the award winners. It's pretty neat. Anyways, next time you're in here, if you haven't seen that, that's on the table right behind me. As a part of my motion, I'm going to ask that the staff include the after-school clubs in one way or another with their choices. I know that we don't want to give them extra work, but they already do art. So maybe that would be it, that they would just do an Earth Day, not added on activity, but one of their art projects that they might do in the month before. They'd say, hey, we're doing a Earth Day art project. And whatever that might be, without adding another moment of staff time, except here's some Earth Day ideas for an art project. So my motion is to go with staff's recommendation of having categories, bringing it to the board, not having a committee, but bring it to the board, the nominees, and then we'd approve that, and then we'd give them out at either an Earth Day event or at a board meeting. And then Lane, are you good with, would you like to second that?
Yes, second.
And then any discussion about whether we give out the award at Earth Day event or board meeting? Does that need to be addressed tonight, or can we figure out closer to the event?
I think that's a case by year basis. I don't think.
Yeah.
Chair Dennett, if I could, we could make that decision when we approve it at the meeting prior to, I would imagine the meeting would be prior to the event or the next meeting. So maybe once we look at the nominees and you guys approve the recommendations, we could determine how we handle the recognition piece.
And I'll let staff choose how to do that. So if the timeline doesn't work and you need to put together the event, either way that you do it will be fine with me.
Thank you.
Not seeing any other discussion. No public comment, correct? Gina, will you call the roll?
Director Avila,
Aye.
Director Freeman,
Aye.
Director Gray,
Aye.
Vice Chair O'Brien,
Aye.
and Chair Dennert.
Yes.
The motion carries with unanimous vote.
Zach, in the report, it said the theme of the event. Has that theme been selected for this year?
We have not selected a theme yet. So if there are options or considerations from the board, we'd be happy to take those.
Okay. Any board members, next time you talk to Zach, if you have an idea for a theme, you could mention it to him. That's going to bring us to item C, and I'm not trying to ice the kicker or the golfer here, but any board members or staff members, do you require a break?
No.
Not seeing one. That brings us to item 9C under new business. Approval of amended agreement between Rancho Simi Recreation and Park District and Mental Equivalent for the operation of the food and beverage concession at Simi Hills Golf Course.
Thank you, Chair. Brian Reed, the golf course manager, will provide staff's report.
Thanks, Dan. Chair Dennert, members of the board, good evening. My report this evening is seeking approval to amend the agreement between the Park District and Mental Equivalent, which is the DBA that Tony Filato and Evelyn Garfield have set up to operate the food and beverage concession at Simi Hills Golf Course. On February 7th, 2019, the Board of Directors approved a 3-year concession agreement with Mental Equivalent, allowing it to provide food and beverage services at Simi Hills Golf Course under the name of the Birdie Bar. All of you have been there and it's been doing very well. That concession agreement expires on February 28th of 2022, next February, but includes a clause allowing the district to extend it for up to 2 additional years at its discretion. Golf course management feels that the management at the Birdie Bar has done a very good job, and we're very satisfied with their performance. And we would recommend that the district extend that agreement for the 2 years, as it is in the best interest of the golfers at Simi Hills and as in the city in general. So our recommendation would be that the board would approve the 2-year extension and approve the amended agreement between the Park District and Mental Equivalent for the operation of the food and beverage concession, and authorize the district manager to sign the agreement and proceed with the implementation. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
Any questions?
Just a comment. I think we're really, based on my time on the board and how Tony and Evelyn have handled this, I think we're really lucky to have them there.
Definitely.
Agree. Far and away the best operators that we've had in my time there.
Yeah. Because they really care about what they're doing up there.
Yeah.
Right, and they're both foodies. I mean, the food is good, the service is great, and you know, they're good, trustworthy operators. So yeah, no complaints at all.
I like their new menu. I don't know if I don't always look at the menu, but the last time I was there, I noticed that they had written up and created a new menu with a lot more choices on it. I still got a cheese quesadilla anyways, but I appreciate that they brought the same energy of the junkyard of creative menu choices. It's more than just a, uh, a food shack, but there's some fun there. And I also appreciate that they do a lot of events and they bring out energy, trying to encourage people to listen to some live music and all the other events they do there. So I also agree with you, Brian, that they're doing a really good job. I appreciate their work there. I'm going to make the motion, unless there's any other discussion, that we approve the extension of the agreement.
I'll second.
Oh,
Any discussion on that motion? Gina, will you call the roll?
Director Abela,
Aye.
Director Freeman, Director Gray,
aye.
Vice Chair O'Brien,
Aye.
Chair Dennert.
Yes.
That motion carries with unanimous vote.
Thank you.
That brings us to item D. Under new business, adoption of resolution number 2015, authorizing submission. Oh, I apologize. I think I skipped one. I did not. Okay, yeah. 9D. Per capita grant to complete the Knoll Station play equipment and parking lot replacement project.
Thank you, Chair. I'll provide the report. 2018, a statewide bond act for parks and water had what's called a per capita component to it. And based on your population as a park and recreation agency or a city of the sort, you are allocated a certain amount of those funds. We are due to receive $264,129. Staff reviewed the projects we have. There is a short time frame to get these, relatively short. The Knoll Station play equipment and parking lots, a project that the board had already reviewed and is included in the capital plan. And it's an eligible project, and it's also roughly the same dollar amount as the grant amount. Staff is recommending that is the project we use this money for. It does require a 20% match, but a lot of that match can come from staff in-kind services. So I anticipate we'll be achieving the match through that. And the grant requires the board of directors or the legal entity to adopt a resolution in order to submit the grant application. So again, it's not really a competitive process. We will be receiving it. They're just documenting what project we're going to do. And so staff's recommendation is, as required by the grant application, that the board adopt the resolution for this particular grant submittal. That concludes staff's report.
Dan, where are we at I know there's a process, but where are we at in that and selecting what the playground might look like?
I will defer to Mr. Nakaoka on that question.
Chair Dennert, yes, I have plans currently available if you want to take a look at the playgrounds. They're basically simple pieces of equipment. The playgrounds are not complicated at Knowles Park. One would be a replacement of the fire truck out there with a modernized version of a fire truck and a fire hydrant. It will be yellow and it will have Station 43 printed on it, custom made.
Oh, cool.
The other one is a small play apparatus. It's nothing exciting. It just has 2 climbing stations and a little slide. And that's in the lower portion of the park. But I will make copies of it and send it off to any board member that wants to see it.
Where exactly will the play equipment be placed?
In the existing play areas. There's 2 play areas at Knowles Park, one by the fire station, one down below by the flood control channel.
Okay.
And you know, I have a passion for playground design and giving input on that, but I don't like to slow down projects either. So for this project, I think it obviously definitely fits the environment. But if there's any other projects that are maybe long-term, but you just want to run it, give me a chance to get feedback or look at it just before I don't want to do this to staff, make it really long in the process. And I say, can you start over? I don't like doing that part either. But for this one, I really like that idea. Are there any other questions?
I'll move approval of the resolution.
I'll second that.
Wayne, what would the timeline be?
As soon as we get notification that we do have the per capita money based upon the documents that Dan will submit, I can order the equipment. It takes about 12 to 16 weeks to get the equipment. Maintenance can put the equipment in. It's pretty simple. The parking lot project itself will have to go out to bid. Plans and specifications have been completed and been sitting on my desk for the last 2 years for that project.
I'm looking forward to that, and I think when it's complete, we should do a very, very, very small event to celebrate. Staff, don't put more than an hour into planning this event, but it'd be fun to just invite the community out and let them know that the playground is open.
There are some former veterans of Station 43 who still live in the community. My grandfather used to work the station. So I think
Yeah,
a
that'd be a
small,
fun.
minimal, no effort event would be nice.
All right, do we have any motions in?
I made a motion and.
Lynn made it, I second it.
Okay. Gina, will you call the roll?
Director Abla.
Aye.
Director Freeman.
Aye.
Director Gray.
Aye.
Vice Chair O'Brien.
Aye.
Chair Dennert.
Yes.
The motion carries with unanimous vote.
Chair Dennert, can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
How much is the fire station being used now? I mean, the community center up there.
I'll defer to Zach. I understand we were using it for a preschool pre-COVID and some other programming, but I'll ask Zach if he has the information now. If not, we can get that to the board
I
after
was
the
just
meeting.
curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a individual, I believe, a small preschool program. I could look at the exact timing of that, Ms. Freeman. I don't have the full schedule of events out there, but it's fairly limited at this point with the small preschool program as far as what I'm aware of off the top of my head.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to written communications of note.
Staff has no written communications of note.
That's going to bring us to reports by board member. Ed, I'm choosing you because I didn't get a chance to hear you at the city council meeting, but maybe you'll tell us what you would have said as part of your board.
No, that's okay. I already said what I would have said at the 60th anniversary celebration. And I do want to thank the entire staff for a lot of work and putting together a really special celebration. So I enjoyed the event, and again, thanks to the staff for putting together a great event. Second, I do want to congratulate Kelly, but I'm not going to do it as enthusiastically as I would have done it if she would have been on the Zoom meeting. Especially since this has to do with Oak Park, but congratulations to Kelly on getting the position. And then finally, and I mentioned this at the Oak Park committee meeting, I'm going to do it again here because I do see that Brian McQueen is on the meeting. I've known Brian for a long time, long before I got on the park board. And I think I've always thought he was a great guy, but he really stepped in at a difficult time out there. And they really seemed to like him out there, and he was great for the transition. So Brian, I think you're awesome, and you deserve some sort of recognition for this. Like I said, I can't be the one to do it. I hope someone nominates him for Employee of the Month or something. But Brian, you did an awesome job out there, and so I just wanted to thank him for that.
Dan, I
appreciate the kind words. Thank you. It was my pleasure.
I was just going to mention, Chair and board, we were planning, the formal transition isn't scheduled to occur till next week. So we are planning on having both Kelly and Brian at the board at your next board meeting to thank Brian for an awesome job and also to formally introduce Kelly. So
next up is Elaine. I apologize. Ed, was that your full report? Elaine?
I would also like to thank the staff for the 60th anniversary celebration. I wish it had been a warmer day, but it was a great event and a lot of work went into it, and I very much appreciate all the work that did go into it. I also want to thank the staff for the street fair. I always like that love the street fair with the kids, and a lot of work goes into setting that up and getting all the stuff there and knocking it down. And anyway, I thought the street fair was a great event this year. They had over 300 booths and 2,000 people is the estimate I heard. Also had a Strathern joint meeting with Director O'Brien, and we went over the maintenance issues. But I think the most exciting thing is that the event they had for the Day of the Dead was the largest attendance they've ever had. It was over 2,200 people out there for the event, and it was a beautiful day, and so a very, very successful event. And tomorrow night is the annual membership meeting, and then on November 7th is the On the Table book signing, and December 5th is the open house. It's from 1 to 3, and you might want to stop in. I mean, they have singers and entertainment, and it's actually a lot of fun. And that's it.
Thank you. Josh?
Yeah, also start by thanking staff for their work on the 60th anniversary event and the several months of events and projects that have gone on and all the social media posts. I'm sorry I missed the actual day. There were some personal obligations going on. And then also attended the street fair and got to work the booth with Kate. And that was absolutely packed. I also, for a future Earth Day or a pollinators event, ran into a community member who started a social group on helping people learn how to seed and grow gardens, in their yard, and kind of walks them through the whole process. And once they reach out, I figured I'd connect them to staff on making sure this community group that I think numbered around 200 or something could be connected for future Earth Day and pollinator events. I also wanted to promote later this month from November 13th through the 20th, the Education Foundation is doing their Bid for Education. It's a silent online auction with dozens of things to bid on. All of it goes to charity and goes back into our community. I have a few things up there myself that I donated, and I would encourage anyone else to bid or be involved with the foundation also. And then I would also encourage anybody eligible to get their COVID booster. I got mine on Saturday or Sunday. Felt horrible for about 3 hours, and then all was good. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Kate?
Yes, I also want to thank staff for all the hard work they did on the 60th anniversary celebration. And yeah, I wish we'd had a warmer day, and if the Dodgers had not been playing, it would have been nice. But still, it was a nice celebration. It was good. So thank you. And thank you also to the City Council for the resolution commending us. That was good. I went to that Zoom. I have actually resigned from the Community Action of Ventura County board because I've been so busy, I haven't been able to give it enough attention. And I just came to the realization that they needed someone more present to take that seat. So I resigned, and we had a very nice exit interview, and we might partner. They might. There's always ways we could work together with them in the future, possibly. Street fair with Director Gray. That was great. That was a good one. And it's nice to see people out and about again. It's been hard to be everybody being at home. I had the Historical Society meeting with Director Freeman, and tomorrow night is the annual membership potluck. So show up with a main dish or something. And I don't know if any of you guys volunteer for Meals on Wheels, but a friend of mine, former City Council member Sandy Webb, and a current City Council member Elaine Listener, and I put together a bunch of tube sock neck heaters, and we put like wheat and rice in these things and tie them up, and then you stick them in the microwave. If you have achy joints, you can put them like around your neck or something and they feel really good. And I've tried one and they do. So if anybody who's like delivering Meals on Wheels and sees these things in the trucks, she'll know who they're from. They're from us. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. I would like to thank staff for the 60th anniversary and the planning that went into that. There was fun had, and we appreciate that. The last graffiti removal, it rained in Simi Valley, and Paul was concerned about applying the paint in the rain and also the safety because it's a pretty steep hike. So we didn't have an official graffiti removal that day. But our next one is November 13th for anyone that's interested. If you want to share that with others, I am going to tell you that we've done most of the work at the beginning of the trail, so it's a pretty steep and difficult hike. But if you know anybody that wants to join in, let Paul or Nikki know about that. I appreciate that staff set up for us joining the city council meeting and that we had a chance to talk about the different ways we partner with them and receive congratulations from them. I also attended the street fair. The staff did a good job of setting that up. And I know that there's a lot of volunteers and staff hours that go, and we get to show up and do the fun part. So I appreciate all the work that happened so that the community can have fun. And Kate, I agree with what you said. It was packed. There's a lot of people there. And it was good to see people out having fun and supporting our businesses and finding out about nonprofits and being able to meet each other and seeing craft booths. I had a lot of fun there. Dia de los Muertos is important to me. It's personal for my family. So I appreciate that the record attendance and all the fun that was being had there and the community celebration and all the altars and the dancing and the food. It was a good day. So thank you for all the volunteers and staff planning that went into that or supporting that. I believe I saw Wayne setting up, like taking down one event to go to set up the other event. So I know that your team was involved in that too. I'm looking forward to Veterans Day next week and our celebration of that. And then lastly, I had a question for staff. There's a city mostly designed or run homelessness committee. Have we been continuing to attend that, or how's that going?
I'll ask Teresa. She's our liaison to that committee. I'll ask her what the status is.
I believe the next meeting I have calendared is November 18th. So they meet quarterly. They have been virtual meetings, but yes, they are still taking place.
If I know that we usually do it at a staff level, but if you could send me a link just so I could listen into it, I appreciate it.
Sure, I'll do that.
That is brings us to report by a district manager.
Thank you, Chair. All good at the skate park. Nothing to report there. Water conservation, we are complying with the 15% mandate for reduction. So we reviewed that in the community and the neighborhood parks. The board will see grass that's potentially a little bit browner than normal, but we are complying with that. Athletic fields, as the district has done in the past, we're still continuing to water athletic fields to 100%, but we achieved the athletic field savings through additional savings in the other parks. So we are applying for another fire resiliency grant. There's another amount available related to that. We are planning to apply for a land, water, and conservation grant for the Rancho Santa Su Phase 4 project. We still have some time on that, and the board still got to discuss that, but we're planning to try to get some grant money for that project. Pickleball, Zach has worked out in a draft agreement with the administration of the school district. We're just awaiting for the Sinaloa Middle School site to review the plan to make sure they're okay with that. But we're hopeful that that will occur as soon as possible, and we'll be able to announce some expansion of pickleball availability at Sinaloa as the board had asked. We're also planning to bring back the larger issues, the policy issues, back to the board at your December 2nd meeting as directed by the board. The Oak Park supervisor we talked about as it relates to that, Jeannie's likely to stay at Strathern, which means we'll likely have 2 vacancies. One, the position Kelly is leaving will be open, and then also Jeannie's position in Oak Park will be open. So we plan to recruit, now that we've got the supervisor selected, we'll be opening recruitments for that. We mentioned the special events. One of the best events we do is the Veterans Day event, of course, and that will be next week. We've got a good program there. And then we've also got the Snow Fest next month, which is an extremely popular event as well. I did want to commend the staff. Several of them participated in the Heart Walk, countywide Heart Walk. So they participated in that and raised some money, and want to thank and represented the Park District well. We've got a request from the county to install drop boxes for balloting. Apparently there's a new state law and we're learning about it a little bit more, but they've asked for a couple locations in our parks or near our buildings to put election drop boxes. So we're working with the county on that. Melissa Simon, I received a call from her today. She's the Acorn reporter and she has resigned her position. She's taken a position at UCLA in communications. She did want me to express to you guys her appreciation for working with the Park District and the staff and the board, all of us, and the relationship we had with her at the Acorn. But she is moving on. She did indicate our point of contact right now is Sylvie until they decide what they're going to do with Melissa's position. The November 18th board meeting, we're trying to get the updated activities center phase 3 plans to the board with the cost estimate. We're hopeful to hit that date on the 18th. The board is the meeting calendar for next year, which will include moving the meetings to Wednesday, will be on the meeting of the 18th. And we'll have the bringing back the rule changes for drones will be on the meeting of the 18th. December 2nd, we're going to bring back the pickleball information that the board had asked for. Facility fees, potentially the part-time minimum wage schedule, and the budget calendar for 2022. We do have a soccer foundation meeting next week. I know Leah's been researching and we've purchased a mic that sits in the middle of the table for those meetings. So rather than the mic sitting up on the TV, we've purchased some equipment that will be closer to the speakers that hopefully will help the hearing issue for those that want to attend those meetings via Zoom. So we'll have that in place for the Soccer Foundation meeting. And then we've got the Youth Services Committee meeting on November 16th. So that concludes my report, Chair.
For the Youth Services Committee meeting, what's on the agenda for that?
A couple of things. One is we had talked about discussing fees with them, the baseball fees. So we were going to run the numbers and have a discussion about that. And then a second part to that meeting, which isn't really a policy issue, but this time of year they have a discussion about field allocations and lining up the fields for their spring league. So those are the two items that'll be a part of that.
And then for our polo field, what's the usage like for that? And the reason I'm asking is I know soccer obviously knows it's available. Do the other leagues know they can ask to use it?
Yeah, I don't have the latest on our rentals. I know we are renting it out for other things, but I don't have the latest on that, but we can put that together and get it out to the board for the full use beyond the soccer league that's using it.
I had just spoken to somebody and they were talking about fields and I said, have you asked about using Apollo when it's not being used for soccer? And they hadn't heard about it yet, so I didn't know.
It is available all during the week. And so that soccer league uses it primarily on Saturdays, but as the board knows, that was the plan, was to have that additional field space available, not only for Saturdays, but for everybody else to use during the week. So.
All right, thank you. Any other questions for the district manager? That's going to bring us to closed session. And Brian, you're going to give us some advice about the closed session. Can we adjourn directly from the closed session?
Yes, we can. I don't believe there's any anticipated announcements coming out of a closed session. And I'll announce what the two closed sessions are, and then you should ask if there's any public comment on either one. The first closed session is pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8. It's a conference with real property negotiators. The properties are listed by their APN numbers in the agenda and include properties both in Los Angeles County and Ventura County. The agency negotiator is the district manager, and the negotiating parties are Dale and Maggie Poe Ranch LLC and Mountains Recreation and Conservation Authority. Under negotiation are price and terms of payment. The second closed session is pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. That's a conference with labor negotiators. The agency designated representative is the district manager. The employee organization is the unrepresented part-time employees. So Chair Denner, you should ask now if there's any public comment.
Is there any public comment on either of those items? I'm not seeing any public comment on that. And because we're going to adjourn directly from that, I'm going to say happy Diwali and may the light shine on you all year long. For any of those that are be celebrating today, yesterday, or this weekend, I plan to join a celebration this weekend. So we're going to go to closed session now.